So here he is. We got these leaders. All these are kings. They want to expand their territory, and they take over these areas. And they came to the Caribbean, came to Central America, South America, North America, and of course they're looking for wealth in the land. They're looking for gold, looking for diamonds. You know, they were looking for oil at that time because oil was not important to them. Wealth was land, agriculture. Why? They were an agricultural society, so those who had good land became powerful kings. So when they came to these areas, the Caribbean and South America, Central America, and this area called Americas, they realized they had a lot of land. And they tried to domesticate the local natives to work for them under force of arm, of course. And the natives couldn't handle it. Some of them ran, some of them fought, became very difficult. And the Portuguese were the first ones to go to Africa, and they discovered more land. And then they found some strong people, they said. This is all in history. And they realized these people were stronger than the ones that were in the territory that they discovered. They could live longer, last longer. They were more sturdy. They could handle the sun. You know, the Indians, the Aztecs, and all these folks, they couldn't handle the weight of the pressure. And so they shipped these people over to work in the farms. You call them plantations. And they literally made them chattel, animals, just like an ox. You were here to work, and so the slave trade became a reality. It was all economics. No slave was ever bought from African continent because of love. It was all economics, and it hasn't changed much. Okay, so we have now this problem of this trade route taking place. And you may ask, why did all of these kingdoms do it? All of them did it. The French did it, the Spanish did it, the Portuguese did it, the British did it. They traded in people. And they chose Africans because they were more durable. They actually used to breed people because, you know, they were stronger. They'd breed. They would choose the strongest male and the strongest female and put them together and have sex to produce a stronger slave. That was the element of today. And this is why we lost families, because they didn't care. You know, if your husband was strong and you was weak, they take your husband away from you. They find a woman who was strong, your husband was weak, take her, put them together. And so the destruction of the family component, even psychologically, was a reality because of economics. You know, to sell a strong slave made sense. You get more money for a stronger slave, whether it's a male or female. So this was the concept. Now, the question I want to ask you is, how could humans do this to humans? That's the question I want to deal with. Because these were leaders doing this. Well, I got the answer for you. Because here's what the Greeks believed that the Romans adopted that became the foundation of leadership for the kingdoms of Europe that created our countries today. The philosophy of the Greeks. Number one, they believe that leadership is a product of natural endowment. Now, those of you who studied philosophy would have read some of Plato's writings and Socrates' perceptions of men. You'd have read Aristotle's concept of the value of human, and you would find that these principles are in their philosophies. They believe that person was earmarked to be a leader if they had certain natural endowments. That means if you didn't have these natural endowments, then you were born to be a slave. This is Greek thinking. Let me put it another way. Number two, they believe that leadership is a product of birth traits. You can study this on the internet. It's all there. The Greeks believed that if you had certain traits, you were automatically born to be the ruling class. And if you didn't have those traits, you were born to be the serving class. If you do some research, you'll discover that some of the traits are shocking. For example, the Greeks believed that if you had fair pigmentation, you were created to be a leader. Well, that rules me out. They also believe that if you had thin lips, this is written in their doctrine, then you were designed to be a leader. So that rules me out. Then they said, if you had pointed noses, the gods chose you to be a leader. Well, you know I'm out twice. Then they said, if your hair was blonde and your eyes were blue, you are definitely designed to be the leader. Have mercy on me. Okay, this is not funny though. Think about it. This is what they believed. So you can understand why, when they went to Africa, the conclusion was the gods have blessed us today. We've got enough labor created by the gods to run our empires. And so the people became fuel for their machinery of their industries of agriculture. Now, I want you to understand, this was the philosophy of their leadership. This is very important. In other words, treating you like a non-human was not a matter of conscience. It was natural. You don't have the traits. So you were born to serve me. You were created by the Creator. to be second class, to be my slave. You can't argue this. God chose you to be my servant. So the concept was, let me go to the third one. This is very important. This is also written in the Greek philosophy, is that leadership is the product of what? Providence, they said. Providence means the gods chose those who would be leaders, and the gods chose those who would be followers. So this is not a matter of who you think you are. It's a matter of what the gods chose you to be. Do you understand how deep this is? This is in the psyche of the post-European era, which is still not over. Let me explain how this works out practically. If you went to college, what's your name? Okay, John went to college and got a PhD in physics. I'm talking about nuclear physics. This guy is a brain, he's sharp. PhD in nuclear physics. The problem is, it doesn't matter. You are simply seen as a very smart slave. Because your pigmentation, your nose, your lips, your eyes, your hair is the problem. It doesn't matter. So they actually would tell their neighbor, I have a smart slave. In other words, educating you think changes you. It doesn't. It ain't the brain that makes you different. So the system, the culture, doesn't translate your PhD into being a superior human. It says you are simply a superior thinking slave. So it doesn't matter how much education you get. It doesn't matter how much accolades you put behind your name. It doesn't matter how much you achieve. In the Greek mind and the Roman mind, which is the leadership that came over, you are still a slave by providence. Do you know that they actually created a theology for this? Because every ideology needs a theology to make it legal. Can I say it again? Yes. Write it down. Every ideology needs a theology to make it legal. So you will find, even like in apartheid, apartheid had a theology created by the Dutch Reformed Church, which was based on Greek philosophy as well. Because remember, South Africa was taken over by Romans, Europeans. Hitler, if you all remember Hitler, Adolf Hitler was an interesting guy. Adolf Hitler said that he had a visitation from God. You ever read his Mein Kampf? He believed that God chose him to restore the Roman Empire. That's why he had a plan to take over Europe again. He says that he was chosen by God to establish what he called the Third Reich, the third reign of the Romans. And this is why, again, his concept of leadership, his philosophy, made it easy for him to destroy people. Remember, you need blonde hair, blue eyes, sharp nose. So when he looked at the Jews, for example, the Jews got dark hair, dark brown eyes or black eyes, olive skin. He said, they are rats to our society, he says. They are sucking our blood. We must kill them. Why? These are not real humans. The gods have made them to be our slaves. So here's my point. Where did you get your philosophy from determines how you lead people. The way you think about people determines how you lead them or destroy